stuff, baby.
Oh, oh.
Car, the one in the middle, not any of these, the one in the middle, that's our car.
And bring it down. That's not the door latch, to the edge of the frame.
Oh, I see.
Okay. That's wide, 67. Got it.
What are we thinking?
Deer last night. I mean, it's definitely square there. So not good here. Hold up.
Our car.
Goes back in there.
You said you're doing what to my car?
What?
You said you're doing what to my car?
All kind of stuff.
Strapping it down.
You're going forward. We gotta roll it back. Yeah,
Our car.
parts of it.
Our car. Oh my goodness. Just coming off the mountain with our car down the mountain.
Coming down the mountain.
Grimace.
Is up, yeah? Hell Hall sounds good, brother.
All right, so we just picked up our chassis for the 67 Mustang. Let me see if I can't flip this thing around. So there she blows. So what we're looking at here is a C7 Z06 Salvage title. That is going to be the mock-up chassis for the 67. Now you may ask yourself, Joe, why are you doing this? And that's the answer. There's no real rhyme or reason besides it's going to be cool. We're going to have independent rear suspension. We're going to have a sport chassis that's set up very well, engineered by dozens and dozens and dozens of engineers, right? All aluminum substructure, right? The C7 was the first year to have the convertible top on all of them, so it's very rigid, right? It does fantastic for a body swap because it's basically a skateboard. The thing's awesome. Now, that being said, it's quite a bit wider than our 67. That over there is on the narrower side. So trying to slide something narrow onto something wide, it's gonna have its challenges. Case in point being, our A-pillar rails here, from this A-pillar on the Vet. So this A-pillar on the Vet, I forget the exact numbers, but I know it's 3 inches wider than the inside to inside on the Mustang. So the Mustang's not going to slide over the A-pillars on this. So this has got to get trimmed and kicked in. The rockers, on the other hand, you see they already hacked some of this skirt away. The very bottom of the rocker is exactly where you need it to be from the Mustang rocker to cover it. It's just you see that the A-pillar is the same width as the rocker. On the Mustang, the rockers are wider than the A-pillar. Some little challenges with that. But all said and done, this is the mock-up chassis. So I got a good bargain on this thing. Cannot complain on what I paid to have front and rear suspension, full interior, steering column, HVAC. Because the Mustang, although you can buy some nice vintage air kits and everything else, is not going to have modern amenities like this will, right? You're not going to get heated and cooled seats. You're not going to get a very functional air conditioner where you have dual climate control left and right, Good defrosters. Everything on the C7 is going to end up migrated and adapted for the 67. So probably not going to run a Corvette steering wheel, but it's going to have the Corvette column, Corvette steering box, and basically everything electronic that's required to run the car is going to work, right? So you're going to have something with magnetic ride, stability control, traction control. And then when you start thinking about those considerations, there's no cheaper way than a body swap to get it into that Mustang, right? Because if you're going to look at a Bosch traction control system or an ABS module, or even if you go something cheaper like a Davis traction control box, you're still looking at 10 grand for each of those kits. So you're 20 grand into traction control and ABS, right? And you still don't have stability control unless you spend even more. Things like magnetic ride, you can put those on. You can get magnetic ride shocks and put them on that car, and then they sell kits for the Vipers and Mustangs to be a standalone controller, and you can do all that, but then you're another 10 grand in. So you start adding these super modern features, which I don't think traction control and ABS is a super modern thing, but they're very expensive once you start going aftermarket OEM stuff. And then it's another box to tune. I'm a tuner, but I'm not dealing with any of that. So we're going to buy a C7, something more complete, right? We're going to buy a whole car once we get the mock-up set up. So we're going to brace the Mustang body, get it on some kind of jig so I can raise and lower. It's going to have to go up and down 50,000 times. I'm going to be notching, cutting away, maybe making adapters, maybe making stencils to make this swap, once I get the full car, a bit easier, right? So I'm less than 2 grand into this, right? Wheels, tires, rolling chassis, which isn't a bad buck to pay. So I don't have to cut up a whole C7 to, really even get started. So this is where I'm at. Now looking back at the Mustang, like I said before, the rockers, the outside to outside on the rockers will accommodate the Corvette. I've got the whole thing in CAD. Maybe I can pop a picture up here in CAD and maybe blow it up. But in CAD, the things I got off GrabCAD, the cheap free files, showed that everything would work out perfectly. Well, the only thing that doesn't show is interior details enough to where I wouldn't have any idea that the A-pillars, or I guess I didn't have the forethought to think that the A-pillars are sucked in on the Mustang and they're flush on the Vet. So that's the only big hurdle I have. Now there's 2 ways to solve this. I can cut the A-pillar on the Mustang and then just bolt a roof and quarters on the Vet, which is a possibility, but I think it's a bit tacky. I'd much rather cut away the Vet, rebrace the A-pillar on there, right? Suck that A-pillar in, so then I can slide the body up and over. Because the more structure I have on all this, the more factory, the Dynacorn parts that are going to replace this, the more of that I have, the better it's all going to look in the end. The better the body gaps are going to be, the more natural the car is going to look, rather than just trying to piece it together on that car, right? I can get the measurements around the windshield and, the rear glass. I can pull all of them off this car and just, start trying to stick Dynacorn parts to that. It's something I could do, but I think it's tacky. I think you end up in one of them B is for builds kind of you know, I threw this Mustang together for SEMA in 2 weeks, and even on video it looks like crap, but you know, get a bunch of views. Now we're building clean street cars here. So to kind of keep the heart of this 67, I think I'm going to use this body. I don't think much will be left. I think very little will be left that doesn't need to be replaced. But use this, put it over top of that frame, and make something happen. So that's the quick update on the Mustang, on how I'm not really building a Mustang. I'm building a street car that's gonna look like a 67 Mustang. It'll be titled and registered as a 67 Mustang, but it's gonna drive and perform like a C7 Corvette, which no matter how much money you put into that 67, it would never be on this level, right? No matter how much money you put into it, you're gonna be dealing with trade-offs that I don't have to deal with this, right? You're not gonna get a car that can run a 7-minute Nürburgring time without a ton of NVH, which you don't have with this, right? This thing was designed and engineered to be super comfortable on the road, cruise and drive, but then also be an animal at the track. And it's the best front engine platform to do it, right? That's why this was the last front engine platform they did. They went to mid-engine because this thing's tapped out. Granted, there's still a little bit left on the table because they had to meet certain requirements for NHTSA and safety ratings, right? It needs to have a certain ride height, yada, yada, yada. But yeah, you're not gonna get a 67 Mustang to do what this thing's gonna do. Yo, Shawty, you got the Z06? You got the Z06, Shawty?
What Z06 stands for?
What's that?
I'm better than you.